The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Tastes just like candy.
Hello, Katie. Hi, honey. Hi, Modiface. I see you. Your back might trickle in. I see people in here. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where a bunch of powerhouse men and women get together online to talk about love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am Candace, HarperLoveCoach.com. I help hardworking women and couples who have survived abuse be vibrant, alive, magnetic, and passionate while creating healthy, intimate relationships. And I am coming to you from Metro Podcast Studios. Yay! We love it here near the Flatiron Building. If you want to record a podcast, you have to come here. It's amazing people. It's a great space, and you can tell we sound really, really good. I see Charlie just joined. David just joined. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the mother-daughter relationship, healing the mother-daughter relationship, shame versus constructive criticism. And I have a guest here tonight who I'm going to introduce in a little bit, and we're going to talk about her mother-daughter experience, my mother-daughter experience, everybody's mother-daughter experience. But first, happy Monday, everybody. You are maybe listening to the TuneIn app on your smart device, to Armed Radio, or maybe you're in the garden on armedradioglobal.com. We're also on iHeartRadio, so don't forget to follow us and download all of your favorite shows. And for the streamers, we're also available on Spotify and on Spreaker, so you can take us with you. Hi, Beth, who just joined us. Maybe you're live here on the Facebook with my Facebook friends. Tonight, we're going to be broadcasting on my page. And also, you know, we like to share. We're broadcasting live on my page. Right now, I'm about to share to my group, the Ask for Candy podcast group. And I want you guys to actually join that group as well, because you can watch the show from that group. And also, I give updates about different things. And also, this will be later on my business page. You'll be able to watch. If you want to interact with us, Facebook Live is the best place to do it. You can ask us questions. You can talk to us. You can be part of the conversation. We can have lots of fun with that. Or if you're shy, you can email us at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com, and those questions and comments will be answered in a later broadcast. Beth says, hi, lovely. Hi, lovely. So, like I said, I'm Candace, HarperLoveCoach.com. My talent is conversation, my passion is personal growth, and my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. And that is why this is a conversation. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating or relationship rules or rights and wrongs. We're not here to shame your love situation. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. So tonight and every Monday night, we're going to do what we do, which is have a conversation that engages, educates, and or enlightens all of us in the areas of love, sex, relationships, and vibrating high. But now I want to introduce you to a very special guest who, first of all, has been supposed to be on this podcast probably the entire time the podcast has existed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I should have been here a long time ago.
A long-ass time ago. We've known each other for a long-ass time. I feel like I met you in, 2010, 2011?
About that time, 2010, 11-ish, but it was a Facebook friendship.
Yes.
We met each other through Facebook, and we finally met up for coffee one day.
Yes.
The coffee was fantastic. And not Luke Cage coffee, like real coffee from the Harlem Shop coffee.
I remember that. And then we just stayed until we actually managed to see. Sometimes from social media, real life friendships can be born.
Oh yeah,
right.
Really beautiful.
I feel like it often happens the other way around, but anything is possible.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And then we saw each other again. We went for your birthday. We went to karaoke. And that was the last time I've seen you. And we've had a few little bits of how you doing? Or come support me here, or check this out, or everything good. And here we are finally again.
Right? I love it. And then you also went all the way to Africa. Now, before we talk any more about what you've been doing and what you're up to, I want everybody else to know who you are too. So I'm going to give them your whole rundown. So renowned freedom and lifestyle coach, international speaker, and best-selling author Jeselle Eli is one of the top trailblazers in the coaching and self-help field. And since 2008, Jeselle Eli has spearheaded winning success strategies that have catapulted business professionals, entertainers, adolescents, and people from all walks of life into their supreme greatness. Her provocative teaching, stellar coaching skills, infectious wit, and vibrant spirit has garnered her international media attention. Jeselle has been a special guest on radio and television programs around the country, including on ABC, WB, MTV, ZNBC, and the BBC. A reigning health and wellness expert, Jeselle is using her powerful story of tragedy and triumph to enhance the lives of millions around the world and has ignited a global movement towards self-love, authenticity, and empowerment. Hailing from New Rochelle, New York, Jeselle has always been a go-getter who is determined to succeed. Welcome, my Jeselle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now you can talk about Africa, or you can talk about whatever you want. But I remember there was a.
I'm ready to go back. Let's talk about that.
Ready to go back to Africa?
Okay. Do you see what we're going through? Let's go back.
Right. Hello. I might be right there with you. So tell the people a little bit more personal about yourself. Anything you want to share to get related, to say hello. This is your moment to say hi to everybody.
My moment to say hi. I'm like new to podcasts. I'm just getting my feet wet in the podcast game. So like now I've been a guest on yours, another girl the other day. So I'm really trying to embrace this medium that I've been so resistant to. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And also I'm just glad to be here to reconnect with you and to have this kind of conversation with you, which are really opening up. My whole thing is I want to change the conversation. There's a lot of things we're not talking about, and there's a lot of things that are kind of keeping us back because we're not changing our thoughts. So Candace has really, or Coach Candy, has really opened up like the platform for us to have new conversations with real people and real life situations, and just let's get to like the nitty gritty stuff so we can become better.
Oh, I love that you said that, because that's really the commitment and intention with this, is to have real people's stories be involved. I feel like a lot of us, we put out content, and those of us who are coaches and consultants and things like that, we want to put out content. And what I found for myself was that I was putting out a lot of content that had to do with my own experience. And that has a limit, right? Because I'm only one person who has lived one life. And it just gets so much richer when other people get involved, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we invite people into the conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as like for people like us, we tend to go to the positive more often.
Yes.
Than not. So I feel like on social media, sometimes it does look like, hey, they're doing so well. Everything is so great. Doesn't mean I woke up that way.
Right.
But I got that way because I did what I needed to do to make sure we just smooth that out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And that's why exactly. And that's why we talk about it, right?
Yeah.
I love that you said that too, because lately I've been in this thing where, and I don't know if it's because I've been a little bit stronger with my voice, where I've been getting a lot of people who are who want to come on and be combative, like to posts and things like that, which I'm okay with that. I have somebody right now who's kind of combative with a post that I put up earlier that was a positive post. And the whole idea is exactly what you said. Like it takes something to get to a point where you can be positive and, have an excitement about life and be able to talk about this stuff in a way that's healthy. It takes some thinking and it takes some healing and all of that stuff. And I think sometimes people who are in a different place in their journey feel like you're, trying to be Pollyanna, or like you said, being so positive.
Let's not get it twisted, okay? I don't like to gossip, but if I want to, I know exactly who to call. Okay? I don't like to complain, but if I want to, I know exactly who to call. So I do it.
Yeah.
I just, mind my time, and it's not 24 hours of my day. It's like a good 20-minute conversation with the right person who's going to give me exactly that back.
Yeah. No.
So we have to be more aware of that.
Yeah, I get it. Yes. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. So I want to say hey to James and Joe and Kim Lee and Carolyn and Shanton. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad that you're here. And with that said, I want you guys to participate in this conversation tonight. Are you ready, Jeselle, to sort of jump into our whole...
I'm ready, and I'm a bit scared of you because no, for real, I'm scared of you because you are talking a topic that I have probably never had with anybody.
Oh wow.
So I may cry. We could start crying now.
I could cry too.
I may cry because this is a touchy topic for me.
Yeah.
I want to come back when you talk about daddy-daughter issues.
I feel that. That's coming.
You can't talk about mama without talking about daddy.
That's true.
So I'm just looking forward to this. I don't know what you're going to break in me, but it's something I've never taken the time to go deep on. So I'm yours. Let's go.
I love that. Well, it's mutual. I just want you to know, I always say I'm the coach on the court. And the reason I like to talk about this stuff is because you never know. Like, I feel like when it comes to healing, there's always those little places that are blind spots that we don't know about until we know about them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And anything can trigger them and bring them up. Hi, Bruce. Joe says, not everyone is going to understand your journey. You still have to take it so stay on your path. Absolutely, Joe. I love that. Joe wrote a book, Unlikely Destiny, which I recommend that you guys go out and get. Joe, I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it. I know from the type of person you are that it's a great book, so I'm happy to endorse it, even though I haven't read it yet. Anyway, I'm working on it. So
at least you endorse his book and not the Popeye's chicken sandwich.
I know.
Okay. Should we talk about that?
The Popeye's
No.
chicken.
Skip it.
No. It's already getting way too much attention, the Popeye's chicken sandwich. What's up, Kevin, who just joined us? All right, so let's jump into this conversation. And I always like to lay down like a little bit of foundation, just so, it's not agreement foundation. We don't have to agree about it, but just lay down like the sort of basis of what we're talking about to see, how each other defines it and, what page we're on as far as, whatever is concerned. So tonight we're talking about healing it with mom and criticism versus shaming, constructive criticism versus shaming. And so there's certain things that I just want to like lay down and sort of get your take on what you think about these things. So the first one is that whether you have a healthy relationship with your mom or not, I feel like, especially women in particular, I can only speak from a woman's point of view, that criticism from our mothers, it just has a lot of energy around it. It's like the money story. It's one of those things that mother's criticism has a lot of energy around it. What do you think about that?
I agree. We can agree to agree on that one. Absolutely. The weight of a mother's criticism is too much pressure for this world. It's too much pressure for ourselves as individuals.
Yeah.
But when do we learn that it's pressure?
Yeah.
That's, I think, that's the beginning of the healing.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, you're asking for way too much. Let me be me.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that you said that, let me be me, because I think that that's why it has the energy that it has and why it can feel so heavy. Because especially if you have a relationship with your mom that the criticism continues well on into your adulthood, I think that has to do with not having had your rite of passage, where it's like, she's not letting you be you yet because she still sees you as an extension of her.
Exactly.
Right.
And also, I do believe that all parents want their kids to be better than them.
Yeah.
So whether your mom is super cool and she lets you do what you want, or she's super strict like mine was, at the end of the day, they're still kind of like giving you a little bit of what they wish they did or what they wish they had.
Absolutely.
And they're also doing I think the criticism comes from a place of love, but it's not received in love.
Yeah.
And that's where the arguments and the resentment and the get away from me starts.
comes from, right? And I think what you're saying is the hardest part. Like, I think what we struggle with and why this is even a conversation is because it's hard to feel like the criticism and the wrong making is coming from love. But you're absolutely right. I just think that especially the older you are, the less that parents have those tools, right? For younger generation, younger parents, I feel like, I'm Generation X, which is very much the therapy generation. So people have worked some things out, and some, more parents have those tools than maybe used to have. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. It's like, I feel like my generation of parents, like, I love you so hard that I want to beat the hell out of you. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
The way you beat me is the way I want to beat you. Okay?
Right. No, it's true. So then another thing I kind of feel like is just a good foundation to lay is that as a society, we are very possessive of what I call shame parenting. So I brought it up a little bit about the wrong making. I feel like, especially you can easily get in arguments with people online about like whether you should spank your kids or, the idea of raising your child and making them wrong. And I'm not coming from a space of being a parent because I'm not a parent, but having been the child. Like, I feel like there's an ineffectiveness in making your child wrong. And I'm not judging how other people parent. But I think that when we're raised that way, we become adults who are afraid of criticism, afraid of feedback, afraid to be wrong, always trying to be right, and trying to meet some standard, and there's an enoughness issue. So what do you think about that? The whole and I feel like people want to hang on to it. Like, people will fight for their right to beat their kids. People will fight for their right to, talk to their kids in a certain way or whatever. Like, or they'll fight for what their parents did and said to them, right? Like, my mama beat me and I turned out okay. It's like, you turned out okay, but did you? Exactly. Right. Like, what's going on in your emotional flora and fauna is looking a little wilted.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I want to touch on the enoughness.
Yeah.
Because as humans, we naturally have a fear of not being enough.
Yeah.
But what our parents, or in today's show, we're talking about our mom, what our moms say to us, that the criticism that creates shame in us makes us feel like we're not enough.
Yeah.
So, until we finally feel like we are enough to the point that we don't have to respond back, or we don't have to meet the standard that our parent is looking for us to, that's where the freedom comes in. And that's why I call myself a freedom coach, because a lot of people talk about financial freedom. I don't really care too much about financial freedom at this point. I want to be free.
Yeah.
Let me be free, and then everything else that creates more freedom will flow into my life.
Yeah.
And that's where emotional freedom comes from.
Yeah, no, I love that. Absolutely. Emotional freedom comes from enoughness.
Enoughness.
Yes.
Enoughness, and not having to fight back with anybody. Like in my house, there's a lot of fight back. And the fight back is because I'm not enough.
Yeah.
In their eyes. In my eyes, I have over exceeded the enoughness. How much more enough can I be?
Do you still feel like you have to fight for it though? Because I'll say this, I'm 47 years old, and I feel like up until just a few years ago, I had sort of I won't call it an epiphany, or just an understanding, because I had to put my parents in assisted living, and I got to understand that I didn't have to fight for it anymore. Like, I didn't, in as much as I have an understanding that with my mom, and I love my mom so much and so dearly, and I'm so blessed for what she gave me. But I also see her as someone who never really thought of herself as enough, or never really loved and accepted herself, so wasn't really able to give that to me. That's something I had to discover for myself. But I feel like I had to come to a realization that I can't fight them to understand my enoughness.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be fighting. You're absolutely right.
I wasn't trying to shit all over you.
Not at all. I just don't know another way yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
I get it.
I don't know. The only other way that I have right now is walking away.
Yeah.
That's the most healthiest way. But until we can be civilized together, well, then that's just what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because we have to meet each other halfway. If we can't meet each other halfway, then I'm turning around and I'm walking away.
Yeah. I hear that. No, I totally hear that. And what came up for me as you're saying that is that for part of my journey with them has been seeing them as enough. Because you know what? I think that when they're hard on you, you were saying that your mom was strict. My mom, I don't know if I would call my mom strict. My dad was strict. My mom was more just, it had to be her way. But it wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't call it strict. It was more just, it has to be my way. But what I felt like is that what they taught me was to meet a certain standard, but then unknowingly they also taught me to have them meet a certain standard. Like if they couldn't get there, I wasn't going to. If my mom never apologizes. Like if she can't apologize, I'm not going to talk to her. And my dad, he has his ways. Like I never liked the way he took care of his health, and I had judgments, I had feelings about who they were that had them in a space of not ever being able to be enough. But I found myself not being able to feel like I was enough because I wouldn't offer that to them. And I feel like part of what transformed it, and this is not me telling you what you should do or anything like that. This was just what my experience was with my parents, is when I went ahead and decided to let them be enough. Like there wasn't anything else they needed to be in order for me to be okay, or me to be okay with them, or for me to just have our relationship move forward. Like I stopped needing for my dad to talk in a certain way, or needing for my mom to show up in a certain way, because I just let her be who she was. And then that's what kind of transformed my experience with them. They might still think the same way that they always thought.
Well, I think it's about leading.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. To lead them, to show them how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
The same way they taught you to respect them, you have to teach them to respect.
But that's just it. They didn't necessarily. They taught me to fear them, right? And they taught me to express respect to them, but they didn't teach me to respect necessarily who they are. That's something I had to learn for myself. Like I can look at my mom now and my dad and say, I respect that they've raised me and my sisters into, intelligent women who, are functioning adults and nobody's in jail or anything like that. I can respect that. But that's not something that they taught me. That's not something that, because the story was always, you need to go to college. You need to do this. You need to be doing that. Why aren't you going to church every Sunday? Why aren't you doing that? This is not good enough. That's not good enough. Right? So that's what they taught me. And that's what I gave right back to them. Like, you're not taking care of your health. You don't keep your house clean enough. You okay, Mama? You got a little tickle. You got a bunny rabbit in there.
Oh my gosh! It's like farm.
That used to always, in the beginning, that used to always happen to me at the beginning of the podcast. I used to always get like a thing in my throat where I couldn't speak. But anyway, so yeah, I feel like it's very much, and this is not, I hope you don't feel like I'm preaching at you. I just feel like the message is that in order to break the cycle, it's like at some point as the children, we have to offer what it is that we want so badly from them.
But it has to be okay if we don't get it.
Yes, exactly.
And
but they may not be able to
hurt
respond.
Coming because we may be showing, but we're still not getting, so it still hurts because we're making the effort, they're making the effort, but it's not working.
Yeah.
And for me, that's where the healing is coming from. I'm nowhere close to healed when it comes to my relationship with my parents.
I get it.
Or my mother. But that's where it starts.
Yeah.
To just know that something's going on here which isn't working for me anymore. I love her.
Yeah.
She doesn't get it. She loves me. I don't get it. What do we do?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
I love that you just gave the answer that it has to, like when you do put forth, let's say, an olive branch, that in not getting it returned, and that's what causes, like, reopens the hurt, right? So I think the question is, what is it when we're disappointed? And I know you know this because you're a coach and you're a prolific coach. Like, when we're disappointed and when we feel a pain and we feel a hurt, what is it that is standing in our way that's the experience over and over again?
I think with our mothers is that their relationship is so close. For those of us that were lucky enough to have that closeness.
Yeah.
It's just the emotional tie to them is much stronger than someone else. It could be a teacher. It could be, a person you work with. It could be a boyfriend on and off, These people, like this woman birthed you. Yeah. Like, how much more deeper connected can it be?
Oh, I love that this is so rich, Jeselle. I love that you're saying that because you're absolutely right. And I think that is what causes us to have such a intense attachment to them being a certain way. I think you're absolutely right. But one thing I feel like too, it's important to look at is the value of having an attachment, right? And by attachment, I mean that the need for someone to do something. And for some people, it shows up in their love relationships. And some people, if they're not in touch with their parents anymore, it might show up in their sibling relationships. I know it shows up in my sibling relationships. It's like this attachment to you getting me, this attachment to you understanding that I'm offering this olive branch and also knowing how to respond to it because I've evolved and I'm showing you my evolution, which is a vulnerable, hard thing for me to do. And now I need that back from you. But I think that's where we get stuck. I mean, that's where I get stuck, is like feeling like I need you to be where I'm at.
Yes. I get stuck like that in a lot of things, not just with my mother. I get stuck like that with everybody.
Yeah, I get
because
that.
like I live my life on a path of growth, and I mean like intense growth. When I'm not growing, because I'm in bed depressed, right?
I hear you.
But when I'm not in bed, I am like moving full forward, and I have that kind of discrepancy with a lot of people in my life because they're just not meeting me where I am. Yeah. With my mom, I always wanted her to be my friend. I can clearly say when I was younger, I wish I had the relationship that other kids had with their mom because they were friendly. Yeah. And so I have grown up thinking,
from the outside, right?
From the outside, right.
Not that people do. People do have friendly relationships with their moms, but when we're perceiving other relationships, it's like, yeah. And
I always thought like I still have a mentality that if I'm your parent, and I'm not a mother as well, I'm about to be a stepmom in 47 days, but I also envision having a kid a lot. So I already know like what I would do when I have a child, just even though I haven't birthed one. It's like, it's all figured out in my head. I'm so excited for it.
And all the parents out there are like, yeah.
You have no idea. I know I have no idea, but understand I'm going to go through every second of that with full joy. Like,
yes.
My baby's here! You know, I'm super excited for whenever that happens.
Yeah.
But I have grown up thinking I'm not their friend. Like when I have a kid, like I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
And that's because of how it's been in my house. Am I supposed to be your friend? Like, could that work?
Yeah.
I don't know.
See, I think, because I'm a big believer in everyone as a field of possibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, and I love what you said about being on this personal growth thing, because I always self-proclaimed personal growth junkie. Like I love this stuff. I'm always in it, right? And one of my biggest lessons within it is part of the growth is also being able to meet people where they're at, right? And not have an attachment or an expectation that anyone be able to return what you give.
And that requires patience.
Oh, absolutely.
I practice super patience.
Yeah, it does. It does as you are transforming it. Because it's the thing, I always say, like, this is why I like to use yoga with my coaching practice, because it's a perfect metaphor. So I started doing yoga about 15 years ago, and like I could barely do downward dog for like 10 seconds. And now it's a rest position. But I think it's the same for all of our transformations. So whether it's attachment to how other people respond, or for me, my biggest thing to transform was that I didn't realize how upset it would make me when people just weren't doing what I thought they should do. Like I'm a natural controller.
And your sister,
right? So, for me, as I transform that, one thing I know is that from 10 years ago, I'm unrecognizable, because 10 years ago, it was very upsetting for me when someone didn't do what I wanted them to do, or do it the way that I wanted them to do it. And I had all kinds of ways of managing it, right? I may or may not show my anger. If I didn't show my anger, then it was going to come out as passive aggression. But the thing is that once I started to transform it, it's like being able to release the need for that person to do what I wanted them to do is something that slowly evolved. And even now it comes up, but it's like me now compared to 10 years ago, the way I was about it, like I said, it's unrecognizable. So I think that it's the same thing is true when it comes to these parental relationships, especially adult parental relationships. It's all it takes is the willingness to say, I always say this because of Maya Angelou saying, when you know better, you do better. Not always. Because a lot of times we know better. It doesn't necessarily mean we apply it. But I do think just the willingness to say, okay, what I'm open to is that I'm attached to this thing. And I get that that's why I'm having the struggle that I'm having. And now I'm just going to practice making a new choice when it comes up again. I'm going to practice it. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to, I can't flip a light switch and all of a sudden be this perfect enlightened person on high. That's not the point of life. That's not
it's all practice.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things that I've kind of realized this past year is that every single day I wake up, it's a practice to be a certain way. If you look at a doctor, if you look at a lawyer, you look at a therapist, they have private practices.
Yeah, they're
practicing every day.
But yes,
that's what we're doing in life.
Totally.
Totally.
Joe says, healing is a process. Your internal mental scars have to heal in the layers that they were created in. Oh, that's interesting, Joe. I never thought about that. A mother's love and pain happens over time, so being patient with them is crucial to your healing or recovery. That makes sense, Joe. I get what you're saying. I want to go back to what you said about your internal mental scars have to heal in the layers that they were created in. That's interesting. I don't know, Joe. I mean, you can expound on that a little bit more if you want. I'm thinking in terms of I feel like we don't know what it is that needs to be healed until it comes up, right? Until we're faced with it.
I think until we're faced with it, but we could do the work to figure it out. Like we could do subconscious work.
That's true.
To figure it out. Because you mentioned mother and money earlier. I went to a subconscious therapist, subconscious, what is it called?
I don't know.
Subconscious? Psycho.
I'm thinking,
psycho therapist.
I don't know,
subconscious psychotherapist. I don't know. They did with the subconscious, and we were discussing money.
Yeah,
and we went back We went back from birth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
what did she put you under, like hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy.
Oh! We're professionals here, everybody. We know all the terms. Avon just looked at me like I'm crazy.
She's sub-psycho. She's sub-psycho.
I'm thinking, what is she, Dexter? Like, is she killing people? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I went to a hypnotherapist, and I wanted to clear up some money issues. And what I had learned is that my money issues have absolutely nothing to do with money.
Oh,
nothing.
That makes sense.
It has to do with my mother. When we went back to when I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so learning that.
Did you discover like a specific story?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to share it?
I was adopted. Oh. And that story turned my life around.
Yeah.
I don't deal with secrets well. I'm not a person that likes to keep secrets. Yeah. I put everything out there. And being that I was adopted and I didn't find that out till I was 20 years old, that was a big secret.
Yeah.
And just the amount of other secrets that have gone on in my family, it's too much for me to handle. I can't take it.
Yeah.
I'm secreted out.
Yeah.
You know
I get that. I totally get that.
So I've had to learn how to mentally cope.
Yeah.
When I learn something new, and just be strong and be in my own will and be like, this is my life. Your stories will not affect me. Yeah. Your past will not affect me. These are your problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't done the work, though, because everything was a trigger. Yeah. Every new discovery was a trigger.
Wow.
So that's kind of where it started.
In the time I've known you, I don't know that this conversation has ever come up, but what's so funny around this theme, that I've been doing this fall, I keep attracting adopted kids.
Really?
Yes. My guest last week was talking about having been adopted, and we just learned it on the show. And it's funny because I was talking about there's a little girl that I take care of who's also adopted, and also a good friend of mine who's also adopted, and we've done a lot of work. She actually used to be a client of mine. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting to me, the difference in the dynamic. It actually isn't that different, because I feel like whether you're with your biological mother or not, I feel like what comes up a lot is this sort of idea of I should have had a better mother. Like, I feel like we all feel like that on some level, or that if we would have gotten a different mother, that it just would have been better in some way.
I think I shame my mom back because my mom's pretty amazing. Yeah. I absolutely adore her. There's so much about her to look up to and to emulate in my own way. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to that, it's like, why didn't you tell me? Why did you keep this from me? Yeah. You didn't have to get me. Why didn't you leave me there? If you want to put me through this, why didn't you just leave me? Yeah. That's kind of like my.
Did you ever ask her why she didn't tell you?
This is a very secretive family. They don't answer questions. Yeah. I ask questions. They don't answer them.
Yeah, I hear that.
So there's a lot that I just don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like roaming through the world on my own little scooter. Unicorn, whatever, mermaid.
Can I just say how much I acknowledge and love your journey behind it, though, and that you chose what you've chosen, and it's going to be one of my questions about how much does your relationship with your mother influence what you do professionally is one of my questions. Mm-hmm. But I admire that you decided to go on a growth journey around all of it, and also I think that it's just just the fact that you ended up adopted by a family that's secretive and that you're on this growth journey. I feel like, all these things that come up for us, and I don't want to cast anything onto you, but I am a big believer that all of these things are part of, why we're here. So we get the challenges, right?
Absolutely.
That are based on why we're here. So how did you end up, here you are, this open person who's willing to share yourself, and you come from a secretive family, so there's something to be transparent.
Well, I share everything because when I was growing up, I was raised an only child, but through the secret, I have siblings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like growing up, all of my friends were those were my brothers and sisters. I told them everything because I had no one to talk to at home.
Yeah.
So I will tell you everything. I will tell you way too much.
I love it.
But I've had to learn to just, some things are meant for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, like, I'm getting married in 47 days. Some things are meant for us,
Yeah.
So I've had to learn the hard way to keep some things to yourself.
Yeah.
But I'll still say everything.
but because you have that, and that's and that you know, whatever had you learn to do that, or if you came to that naturally, I think that that's part of. And maybe I'm putting my own shit on you, because I feel like within my family, there's a certain level of.
Are you cursing?
Huh? Oh yeah, I curse.
You curse here?
We curse here.
Oh,
it's grown. This is grown and sexy, honey. We curse here. Avon's back there nodding yes. We curse here. I feel like in a lot of ways, and my family might disagree, that my sort of purpose within my family is connection. And I'm not connected to a few of my family members right now, because there's like energy and stuff there that I just haven't smoothed out, you know, that we haven't worked out, or you know, that I'm at a place where I've done what I know to do. And I'll always love them and always have positive and, you know, embrace them if they need me or want me. But I feel like part of my journey in life is, here I am. I came into this world, and my older sister always makes fun of me, because if you look at any of our family pictures, like on holidays, I'm sitting there crying, because I was always the emotional kid, and I was always the one who wanted everybody to love each other and get along and be nice to each other. And I come from, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're nice people socially, but they're hard on each other. Like, my family is all about criticism and making fun of each other and, you know, being hard. You know, it's from my dad, it trickles on down. And so I feel like, you know, part of my journey in this life, coming from people who are hard criticizers, to be someone who's so sensitive and emotional. Don't get me wrong, though. I can go there if I need to go there. And I never feel good about it, right?
See, we're talking about mother. Oh, my gosh. I knew that was going to happen. You know, I knew that was going to happen.
What, the alarm?
It's not an alarm. I'm a real estate agent, and that's like a real estate call. And I knew that was going to happen.
Right in the middle of the podcast.
Right? Okay.
Hopefully you don't lose a deal. I hope you get that deal.
No. You have to pick it up right away. It's okay.
Okay.
Anyways.
Oh, no. You should have picked it up. We could have got that deal for you.
Right? Okay. So, anyway, with the mother thing, that made me lose my train of thought.
Oh, well, we were talking about like our purpose in a family, and that I find it very interesting that you are a sharer in a secretive family. Just like I am an emotional person in a family that's like very hard.
I forgot what I was going to say, quite honestly. Yeah. So distracted. But, yeah, I have parents. We got to do this again with fathers. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. My parents are the only ones that will hear the roar from the bottom of my soul in a yell. Yeah. Nobody else has ever heard me scream the way I scream at them.
Really?
It's like a demon.
Now, you come from black people. How is this possible?
It's a demon.
Yeah.
It's like a whole other monster comes out when I get angry.
Okay.
Yeah. And nobody else has experienced that.
No.
Oh.
Are you in exploration around that? I mean, don't get me wrong, because I have no judgments about it. I definitely have had moments where I didn't talk to my parents in such a nice way.
I think I am.
Yeah.
I think I am. And it's about walking away.
Yeah.
Walking away.
And also
deal with the anger.
Finding that healing, too.
Yeah.
Like, what needs to be healed behind that, right? Because that's not for no reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
It's a long... It's my entire life of pain.
Yeah.
You know, I feel that I was emotionally abused as a child.
Yeah.
My parents would never think that they emotionally abused me. Why would they?
Yeah.
They showed me love the way they knew how. They didn't show me love the way I needed.
Yeah.
So I looked for love in all the wrong places, you know, and for that reason went through my own hell of a story.
Yeah.
And now that's where the misunderstanding is coming. They don't know what they missed. I can't get them to give me what I missed. So now I'm old enough to be like, well, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
No longer any of our problems. Let me deal with this on my own.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's hard, having to say, cut the umbilical cord, you know, in a sense. Like, this is over.
Yeah.
You can't do this to me anymore.
Yeah, and do you feel like it is hard. But you do feel like, oh, wow, Joe has a lot. Joe says our parents, right? Our parents have a connection with us, and we maintain that connection based on how we are treated by them. As adults, we begin seeing their flaws, and that creates those internal scars that happen over time. When we realize they are not perfect, that is how and when the scarring begins. We have to remember our parents can only do and give based on what they've learned and experienced. I think that is very true, Joe. I also think, too, that this is all good like this is good stuff that you can use as a coach, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like when we have those things that, even the stuff I was talking about, around my sisters and stuff like that, like I feel like that's stuff that I can use because I know that there's blocks there for me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like in having such strong feelings that there's a rage or there's a scream beyond it, there's a primal scream somewhere in there, that is definitely, that's like, not to belittle it, but it's like good, juicy, like growth stuff in there.
Yeah, because
right?
Anger is good. We repress anger a lot.
Yeah.
We need to repress anger.
Yeah.
We should feel it. Like, I always, one of the things I teach is to feel the feelings.
Yeah.
If you feel sad, feel sad. If you need to cry, cry. Make it a good one.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago I had a cry. I don't even know why I was crying, but it was just a cry. And I probably cried for a few hours.
Wow.
Okay? Like I was in the bathtub crying. And at one point I had like the cry in the giggle. And I'm like, oh, this is such a good cry. And I was like, oh, I haven't had a cry like this in so long.
Yeah.
And then I went to bed and I was like, oh, not bed, but just lay down to like kind of simmer down the cry. And the cry kept coming. And I'm like, oh my God, look at this cry. Like it was an awesome cry.
Yeah.
Anger is the same way.
Yeah.
You got to feel it. I don't know if you've ever heard stories of people working with them and they go out to like an open space or to like a lake or a forest. And they're like, scream as loud as you want. I love
it. Yes, I have. And I know that there's different like modalities for like, the primal scream and beating the pillows and different things do different things where you can actually like release. But here's the thing about that. I think that is the healthy outlet for the anger. But when it feels like it's coming up a lot in communication, it's like, how can I heal that so that that's not the case? Because that impacts your ability to have that friendship you're talking about.
That's how we have to learn how to respond to people. That's where our work comes from.
Yeah.
Because we have to learn how to respond versus react.
Yeah.
And that's self-control.
Yeah.
Because we can't control them. So when they poke at you, they poke. We have to just take the poke and react different.
Yeah. Or not even, you're right. I think on a lot of levels, you're right. If they're poking at you, but I also feel like it's the question of why do I perceive it as a poke? Because we were talking earlier about, you were saying that the way that your parents parented you, they would never call it emotional abuse. That's not what they would perceive it as. And you said yourself, like the criticism is coming from love. Right? So even though it feels like what it feels like, it's like, what is it that I haven't healed yet? At least for me, like I always say to myself, what is it that I haven't healed yet?
What is it that they haven't healed yet?
Well, that's a good point. You're right. But here's the thing. In our growth, we can't have an expectation that they be at a healing place. Like part of being in this growth conversation or allowing yourself to experience enlightenment is to let people be where they are, right? So the only thing we can control is our own perspective, our own perception of things. Mm-hmm. So I always ask myself, like, if someone triggers me, of course my initial reaction is, fuck you, don't trigger me. Like, don't go there with me. But if I sit back, even like, the assholes on social media or whatever, if I get like an energy around it where I'm wanting to come back, I got to sit back for a second and say, wait a second, like what's going on with me? And I get with parents, it's a completely harder thing. And trust me, you're talking to somebody who had decades of, my mother could barely speak to me and I was angry with her. Like she would say certain things and it just was a trigger. So I get that feeling, but I also know from my own healing that I really had to say to myself, what is it that I am not looking at that I still feel so much energy when she says what she says or does what she does, or that I have the reaction that I have? And what I had to realize is that my own self-acceptance and my own understanding of myself was still, first of all, so symbiotic and tied to hers. And also that I wasn't allowing myself to stand in who I knew I was. I was still letting them have the power of defining me. So if my mom had some comment about, what I look like or what I was wearing, the first time I ever shaved my head bald, the first thing she said was, you look like your father. Now, there's a million ways I could take that, right? And of course, I took it as an insult, which is an insult to my father that I took it that way. But, because of where I was at in our relationship at that time, that set me off. Like, what a bitch.
That's the thing. It's like, it's allowed to feel bad.
Yeah.
My mom did the same thing literally last night, not even 24 hours ago. And we were talking about my wedding dress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mommy, as a bigger woman, like as a plus size woman, it's not easy to find a wedding dress.
Mm.
You know what her response was? Well, why are you that size anyway? That's poking me.
Yeah.
And it's not making me feel bad because I know I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm eating well. I'm healthy. You know, my weight is naturally going where it should be, which is going to take time.
Yeah.
But you're making me feel bad because you have no idea what it is that I'm doing to take care of that situation.
Yeah. But here's
that
the thing,
hurts.
Jeselle, you're right about that. But here's what's there for you to stand in, that you know you're doing what you need to do, and that her perception or what she thinks about what you're doing has no bearing on that you're aligned with your own health. Like, that's the place I feel like, I'm not telling you to get there, but that's the place that I'm talking about. Not that you, just take the poking and suck it up and then react better, because
no, I cried. I shed a few tears. I had to.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you're in any way trying to make yourself have a different reaction or a different response, then you it's like that's how we put ourselves in this sort of locked place where we can't have that healing. Mm-hmm. But if you're willing to say to yourself, okay, I know that I'm taking, like, I had to say to myself, okay, I know that I'm beautiful with or without hair. Like, I have to stand in that and know that to be true. And that way, it doesn't matter. I mean, my mom doesn't approve of me not having hair because
my mom doesn't approve of this.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because I can love her and she can have her feelings about it, and it's totally okay with me now. Whereas there was a time when it wouldn't have been okay because I needed for her to understand, validate, and see me. Because I wasn't doing that for myself. It's almost like I used to say all the time, sometimes you have to be your own mom in that way. Mm-hmm. Because they don't necessarily, if they're not doing that for themselves, they don't know how to do that for us or give that to us. Mm-hmm. So, it's not about like, how can I make myself react in a certain way? It's how can I use this to heal what's going on with me, that I'm triggered by what my mother or my father or what anybody else thinks about what I'm doing, right? Mm-hmm. Because then how am I gonna move through the world and not allow what other people think affect what I do when I can't start from home and say, you know what, I love you guys. I love you the way you are, the way you aren't, and whatever you think about me, I'm still gonna be who I am because I stand in it. And it's not gonna throw me off my game, it's not gonna upset me, it's not gonna impact our relationship. You can think how you want to think.
So that goes to the love languages, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about that because when I first learned about the love languages about maybe 10 years ago, mm-hmm. but then I learned more about communication and the way you use words and phrases, I want to say like 2011-ish. Mm. And when I came home, I went to my mother and I asked her, I said, at that time I had just moved back into the house. I was kind of like in between jobs. And I said, I know that you don't feel that I love and appreciate you. What is it that I can do so that you know that I love and appreciate you? Mm-hmm. And you know what her response was? Mm-hmm. I want you to take out the trash. Mm. That made me learn that her love language was acts of service. Mm-hmm. Taking the trash out only lasted about 2 weeks. Yeah. Because then she's like, I want you to recycle too. And like, just trash, all of that's just too much for me. I don't do trash. Yeah. So it didn't last long, but it showed me what she wants. Yeah. What she needs in order to know that she's loved and appreciated. Yeah. If we hadn't had that conversation, I would have never known. Yeah. But it's only because I learned how to ask. Yeah. There's still so much that but through generations, don't know how to ask. And even younger mothers, with all this texting and like emojis, people don't know how to talk anymore. Yeah. Like I'm working on a thing I do like outreach work for sexual health. And we're working on a marketing thing, and it's all about basically asking for sex. And I'm like, why don't we just emoji it? Yeah. Put like what are you doing? Like a W, what is it? WYD, mm-hmm. and then put some peaches, and then put some eggplant, and then put a swimmer. You know what I mean? And then, because that's how people communicate now. Yeah. So we have to talk more. Yeah. We need to communicate. We need to have conversations so that we get to the point.
Absolutely.
And feel it.
Absolutely. I think that you're absolutely right about that. And I love that you were willing to even talk to your mom and try to understand her love language. I have a whole thing about, I hate it that we're running out of time. I'm going to have you back on the show. I have a whole thing around the love languages because in as much as I love it as a concept, I also am very trepidatious around trying to be a way for someone to understand that they're loved Like, I feel like that's a slippery slope, but we're going to get into that because I'm bringing you back. You're going to have to come on another show where we get deep into that. But what I do think is really important is that I think that I love that the instinct is to ask questions, because I think asking is always very important.
Question everything.
Yes, but also with the understanding that sometimes the answers that we get are where the person is at in their journey, and that's why the taking out the trash and and feeling like her love language is acts of service was not necessarily sustainable, because she might not be in a place in her journey where she's really in touch with what really would have shown her that you loved her. And if she's not in touch with herself in that way, then that's the kind of answer that you know what I mean?
As long as we're still exploring it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not like the door is closed.
Exactly.
It's not like we are estranged. That's the word for that, right?
Yes.
Estranged. I see that word. I'm like, let me dictionary that one. What's that mean again?
Right.
But we're still working at it.
Yeah.
Do I expect? I try and live without expectations.
Yeah.
So, will I get what I want out of my relationship with her? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that in this moment, I'm actually enjoying what we're going through because we're planning a wedding.
Yes.
So it kind of changes the dynamics of our relationship, because now in her eyes, I'm growing up. Now she's doing something she never did.
Yeah.
Now we're being of equal support. And it's like, I sometimes look at her and I feel like I see you, and I know she sees me too, because we're both entering that stage of a relationship where you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I know she got me, and I know I got her too.
Oh, I love that.
You know? Yeah. So though it hurts, it's still like I hope that she can feel what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, she's probably not going to watch this, but I know that she feels what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It has to be, because we still wouldn't be reciprocal in our give and take of each other if we didn't feel that way.
Absolutely. And the hurt wouldn't be there if there wasn't so much love.
Right.
I love it.
And pain is inevitable. Stuff. Yeah. If you're not having pain, then you're not human.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. It's rich. It's like, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff. It's a good journey. And congratulations on getting married. I'm so excited
47
for you.
47 days.
I know. That's
I'm
like
changing my last name, girl. I'm ready to get rid of this. That's a whole
nother. We're gonna have you back, because the hour goes by so fast. I gotta say hi to Candace, Elena, and Kenya, and Tristan, who also came on. This time goes so fast. You're gonna come back on, Jeselle, because I feel like the conversation's too rich. Now, I want you to tell everybody in like a minute or like about a minute or so, where they can find you, if they want to get in touch with you for coaching, what to do, like whatever you want the people to know. And we can also leave links in the comments and stuff.
Okay, sure. You can find me on Facebook. We're on Facebook Live right now, so we should be shared in the top there. That's me, Jeselle Eli, which will soon change to Jeselle Eli Francis. Oh. And then you can also... Well, no. It's just for the purpose of having his name there.
Yeah.
It's because professionally, I'm Jeselle Eli, but as a married woman, I'm Jeselle Francis.
Okay.
Because Eli is really the legacy that I have left for my family. There's no other sons with an Eli.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. So my company is Extraordinary Living International, and that's where the Eli comes from. And I want all of you to live extraordinary lives. And then you can find me on Instagram, IG, Jeselle Eli.
That's awesome. Yay. So definitely check Jeselle out. She's wonderful. She's an amazing coach, amazing person. Thank you, honey, for coming on.
You're so welcome.
And sharing yourself. And, you know, I'm a big believer that when we're vulnerable and we share ourselves, there's always someone out there, you know, like I got some breakthroughs around a lot of the things that you were saying. I know there's people out there who are like, you know, in their own situation and seeing some things based on what you shared. So it's a huge service that you've given. Thank you for just, you know, bringing your presence.
I just want to say about that, it's always my goal when I do any kind of public talk or share that just one person, if one person just got something, then my job is done.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So.
I love it. Yay. Oh, Elena, thank you for all the love. Hi, honey. So I want to tell you guys that I am filling up my Epic Intensive. You guys know about this because I've talked about it the last few shows. So there's only 12 spots, and they're going fast. I'm doing a webinar on Thursday. I'm going to leave the link to register for the webinar in the comments down below on this post. So if you want to heal a toxic mother-daughter relationship, if you are an abused daughter raised by an abused daughter, if you want to move some challenges out of your way that have been standing in the way of having a really great love life, a really great relationship with yourself, you want to be involved in this intensive. It's 90 days, it's Epic Intensive, Empowering Practices for Intimate Connections. we're just going to have a really amazing, transformative time. And at the end of it, for the completion, we go to Jamaica for 3 days so that we can complete and have a ceremony and connect. And you'll come away with community, just breakthroughs around what you want and what it is that you need in your love life.
Will they get their groove back?
They might get their groove back. They might get it, but don't do like Terry McMillan and marry a gay man, because you'll get that groove back and it will not work out in the end. Yes. So yes. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to put the link in the comments down below so that you can come to the free webinar and find out more about it, because of course I'm forgetting all the details right now. Also, I want to let you guys know that I'm on the lookout for speaking opportunities, and even free ones, because I've been working on a little bit of a mini self-esteem talk and taking it to domestic violence shelters, anywhere that you have an audience and a space and women who actually could benefit from a conversation about self-love and self-esteem. I am looking for those kinds of opportunities. So email me, askforcandypodcast@gmail.com, and let me know if you are, part of a mentorship or mentoring organization, or any organization that helps women overcome violence or toxic relationships. I would love to come and do some talking, maybe practice some distinctions, practice some work with them, and just have a good time and actually cause some healing, hopefully, is the idea. Also, don't forget to go to our YouTube channel. I'm not fully caught up. I don't have all of our back shows on there, but if you want to watch any of the shows, I am slowly doing some editing and trying to get those shows loaded on there. And you can go to my Instagram at Candy Love Coach or at Ask for Candy Podcast, either one of those, and you can follow, and I follow back. So yeah, and that's it. Is that the end? How's that at the end?
Remember that Janet Jackson?
Is that the one for before Rhythm Nation? Is that the end?
Yes.
No. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, those of you who've been on the Facebook Live, thank you so much. Don't forget to join my group, Ask for Candy Podcast, and Armed Radio Group News, because they have a lot of really great podcasts about food, about parenting, whatever you might want to talk about. I know Jimmy has one called Pot Talk, so you can imagine what they're talking about over there. And Joe has a great one that's funny and fun on Thursday with the coach. So join the Armed Radio Group News. And for the Armed Radio people, until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for candy. So goodbye to the Armed Radio people. I know you're signing off really soon. And goodbye to the Facebook Live people. It's been so much fun. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
Oh, I see messages coming in and everything. Yay!